somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and this is the Agree to Disagree Show. Yes, we are still suspended on YouTube, on the New American Media. We've had a channel for 14 years and never had a hard strike. Oh, we've been shadow banned, we've been demonetized, deranked, deboosted, and memory hold. Memory hold. Yeah, even some videos, like my interview with Larry Elder, for example. Sometimes the John McAfee interview. Sometimes you can literally search on YouTube and you cannot find proof of that video existing. It's there. They just don't show anybody. Geez, that John McAfee interview got about 130,000 views in about 6 hours, and they zapped it. They did not like hearing about Vault 7. And the fact of the matter is, we've been lied to for a very long time. Everything's been about manipulation and power, control, greed, and really weaponization. That is sort of the buzzword of the day, I suppose. Weaponization. Weaponization of the justice system, weaponization of social media, weaponization of everything relevant, essentially. Maybe you think I'm over-exaggerating. I don't think so. Well, for example, now we're supposed to be streaming on Restream, but it is not loading the video. Oh. I wonder why. Here, let me go ahead and check something right quick. I might need to relink this. It's been a weird day. Let me just say it's been a weird day. We've added a couple of streaming options. So we are now on Kick. We're now on Twitch. We have been trying. Part of the reason why today's episode is later than usual. There we go. Custom RTMP. Let's save that and see if we can get this stream going. Part of the reason why we're late today. Is it still working? Or is it not working? It shows that I'm on RTMP. Yep, it's showing it. Let's try it one more time. Hopefully that'll be the... Still not working. Today has been fantastic. We're going to talk about the UFC fighter, Cain Velásquez. Have you heard this story? He got sentenced today. That's why we're broadcasting on our YouTube channel, our sports channel, The Unhappy Hour. Okay, now it looks like we're on Rumble. Fantastic. His son was abused, allegedly. So he hunted the guy down, and he let out a bunch of shots trying to take him out. Well, we'll talk about that story. Also, what got leaked? What's going on with this Atlantic story and Trump and Pete Hegseth and Yemen? We'll unpack that. And also, we're going to share some of the dankest memes on the internet. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe, however you're watching us right now. These are the places to follow us. Search the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch. Oh, I guess I could say Kick. Twitch, Kick. What's the other one? DLive. And YouTube. Yeah, YouTube has us banned, so we're broadcasting on the sports show, the Unhappy Hour sports show right now. Those are the places that you can follow us. But yeah, we share dank memes and we share interesting stories on our Instagram page. So we ask that you follow us there specifically. Let's go ahead and pull up Instagram. Yeah, however you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, and type in your name or your initials and let me know where you're watching from in the chat. When we get the room populated, we might throw the chat room up there for all of us to see and participate in. So what is going on over here? Here's a post. Shred News. Ukrainian soldiers with an American flag in the faces of Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, Lindsey Graham, and was that Rubio?
Потрібні такі союзники, як ви. Трамп, Маск, Венс, Рубіо, Грем.
Once. They call Vance once. We don't need you.
Ви заплатите за свою зраду.
You will pay for your betrayal. What are you talking about? They never promised you anything. You listen to the deep state. I don't like this right over my head here. What if I move a little bit? You listen to the Democrats, the deep state Democrats, that said, hey, how about we make a really strong push to start putting all this weaponry in your state or in your country? Why don't we overthrow your country in 2014 and put this puppet, Vladimir Zelensky, in? Donald Trump didn't come up with that plan. That was Victoria Nuland. You got a problem? Talk to Victoria Nuland and Barack Hussein Obama and Joe Biden, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton. Talk to that whole team. What betrayal? They're trying to stop hundreds of thousands of more of your people from being terminated in this conflict. A conflict that a lot of people said didn't need to happen, should have never happened. If you're upset, you should put up a picture of Victoria Nuland, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. Those are the ones you should be upset with. Look, most people in America want peace. They want you to stop. You don't have enough people in your military. You're grabbing people and kidnapping them, conscripting them, forcing them to serve, to come back in body bags. We hate seeing that. That's how most of the country feels, by the way. That's how most of us feel. Let me make sure I share in our other groups on Facebook. Join us live. Not that Facebook really shows people what we're up to. It's not really something they're big fans of doing. Anyway, just you will pay for your betrayal. We're trying to get you out of this mess. We're trying to stop this war. We being they. There, flag, burning the faces. Thoughts on Marco Rubio's head? Okay.
How do you move quickly?
Burn in hell, Judas. Really? The act is widely viewed as a response to their criticisms of U.S. foreign policy and Ukraine's war strategy. The positives: incident exposes the frustration over leaders pushing for transparency and accountability in U.S. aid. Oh, is the money laundering drying up? Yeah, they're big mad about U.S. aid. That's why YouTube gave my channel a strike. We did an episode about U.S. aid. And they zapped our account. They zapped our live feed. They don't want you to know what USAID is doing around the globe. Their global slush fund. $36 trillion put on a credit card, people. $36 trillion. We're bloody bankrupt. We don't want to be spending a single penny that we don't need to right now. That's what Doge is. Stop it. Stop spending. You have a spending problem. Stop spending. And when you unravel it, it's incredible how much money has just been stolen from the American people, from America. So anyway, if this analysis here is accurate, U.S. aid might be a big part of this. Prominent voices like Trump, Vance, and Musk are questioning endless funding for the conflict, putting American first. The concerns, disrespecting the American flag, sends a strong negative message about Ukraine's relationship with its biggest financial backer, raises serious questions about how U.S. aid is being perceived and used overseas. The takeaway, burning a flag with the faces of American leaders, isn't just a protest, a symbol of growing resentment toward those advocating for a shift in foreign policy. Maybe it's time to rethink the blank check to Ukraine. Shred steak. They burn our flag and we're supposed to keep writing the checks? Trump, Vance, and Musk are right to ask questions. America has no obligation to bankroll foreign conflicts while our own citizens struggle. Time to put America first. Yeah. If they want to be mad at anybody, be mad at Newland, Obama, Clinton, and Biden. This is misdirected hostility, said that old 311 song. Gabriel Chamas says, breaking, Senator Rand Paul will be introducing a bill to abolish the Department of Education. This bill will codify President Trump's executive order into law. I mean, that sounds good, right? Let's look it up on X here. This is from 4 years ago. It's from March 23rd. I mean, doesn't he put this out every year? Yeah, Rand Paul will introduce a bill. Ian Jager reporting, but where's another one? Let's listen to Rand Paul in his own words on Face the Nation.
But when we looked at the budget in Kentucky, the state receives $2 billion in federal education funding. Do you have a guarantee that the federal government, federal taxpayers will still provide $2 billion in education funding? That seems important to your state.
I'd rather, well, no, what I'd rather is a guarantee that my kids can read and write and do math. The amount of dollars, look, the number of dollars has gone up exponentially and our scores have gone the other way. So dollars are not proportional to educational success. What I want is success. And I've talked a lot about this. I think there are innovations we can do where there's more learning via some of the best teachers and we pay them more. I would like to have an NBA or NFL of teachers, the most extraordinary teachers, teach the entire country.
Who would run that? The education department?
And some of them.
Man, let him talk, you annoying lady. Ugh. Let him talk. Who'd run that? The education department?
And we pay them more. I would like to have an NBA or NFL of teachers.
And that's merit-based. That's exactly what I said on yesterday's show. You want the government, if anything, to just be a fair arbiter, a neutral referee. You don't want their fingers on the scales of justice. You don't want that. You don't. What you want is just to let the best become the best. You don't want to discriminate on race and all of the things. Genitalia, betting preferences, none of that matters. Just the best basketball players, the best baseball players. Oh, but listen to how annoying she is.
Have an NBA or NFL of teachers, the most extraordinary teachers, teach the entire country.
Who would run that? The education department?
Some of them.
Who would run that? The education department?
Or NFL of teachers, the most extraordinary teachers, teach the entire country.
Who would run that? The education department?
Some of them. No, what you'd find is they'd be selected out state by state, across the nation. Look, people say, oh, with the Department of Education would have no testing. I was in school before then. We did achievement tests in the 6th grade, the 5th grade, the 8th grade, and we compared ourselves across state lines. There were international testing.
Yeah.
You don't need the Department of Education for any of that. But what I can tell you is the best teacher in the world is not teaching the kids.
Yeah.
What we need to do is have the best teachers and pay them more, but they wouldn't teach 30 kids. They might teach 10 million kids at a time because it would be presented through the internet with local teachers reinforcing the lessons.
With local teachers reinforcing the lessons from the best teachers. Man, that sounds way better to me. Way better to me. So there you go. Let me switch back to our Instagram feed. Make sure you're following us on X. We're at American_media_. Be sure to hit like, hit the heart button, hit subscribe, and type your comments in. We'd love to hear from you. Do you like the idea? Question of the day. Do you like the idea of getting rid of the Department of Education? And do you think that the states could do it better? It's not like the people in the Department of Education are teaching the kids. It's a big bureaucracy. And our competency has just plummeted through the earth. Like Elon Musk boring into the ground. Let's go bigger on this one. There we go. It's so weird because on this screen, it takes up more of the screen, but it's smaller. Then when I go to this, now it's bigger, but it's smaller amount on the screen. Anyway, Rand Paul here says, and next week, I'll be reintroducing a bill to do the same. Like father, like son. Young Americans for Liberty said, you might not recall, or you might not have been alive yet, but Dr. Ron Paul first introduced legislation to abolish the Department of Education in the early 1980s. The man was a visionary ahead of his time. It's awesome. He's now seeing many of his ideas become reality. Bravo. I like seeing it. You can read this. Okay, check that out. Cool. Nurse Kate says, I would like to personally thank the media. Oh, here, I have to do this. I have to run a caption, right? For countervailing views, go to CDC and the WHO website. So there you go, who.int, and visit cisa.gov/rumor control. Ooh, can't talk about things. Medical things. Nurse Kate says, I would like to personally thank the media for their coverage on the little girl in Texas who passed away after having measles. Because of your coverage, the family was able to have her chart reviewed by some of the best critical care doctors in the world. These doctors have uncovered that she passed away due to medical errors, multiple errors. The family can now find peace that this was, in fact, not their fault. They will be able to seek damages and will have the best expert witnesses in the world to defend them. Well done, media. Your efforts have paid off. Yeah, I'd still like to know what really ended my brother's life. Double pneumonia, COVID, remdesivir. Wouldn't let him have monoclonal antibodies. Wouldn't let him have a vitamin C drip. Wouldn't let him have hydroxychloroquine. Wouldn't let him have ivermectin. Oh, but they jammed a ventilator down his throat. Oh yeah, no, you'll be fine after this. No, you're gonna. Let's talk about Secretary Kennedy. He came out here on Real America's Voice saying, instead of inspiring universal condemnation, the October 7th Holocaust triggered a global wave of anti-Semitism. Ivy League campuses became a greenhouse for poison. President Trump has ordered his cabinet to use every constitutional tool to uproot this divisive weed. I'm glad Columbia has agreed to this first step and will begin to restore itself as a garden of tolerance, reason, compassion, and respect. You know, I've fiddled with my Kennedy impersonation. I've never tried doing it for an extended. That was a lot to read. Whew. Whew. That took a lot out of me. And I didn't have it right the first sentence or two. I had to get a little gravelier. More gravelier? I'm sure that's a phrase. So yeah, this is an ongoing conversation here. Ongoing. Free speech, protest, civil liberties. Where do you stand on this? I mean, can you advocate for peace? Can you advocate for, I don't know, when do you cross the line? What did Voltaire say? If you want to know who runs the world, see who you're not allowed to criticize. Bobby Kennedy is coming out being very pro this. I thought you should know. Here's John Stossel explaining what it means to get rid of woke. And that really is the antithesis of what we were talking about with the Major League Baseball, the NBA, or the NFL, where the best of the best succeed. DEI has been the opposite. Woke has been the opposite. And it really has been a cancer on this country.
Our country will be woke no longer.
President Trump ended federal DEI programs.
Ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies.
But why? Diversity, equity, inclusion sound good. And companies sure bought into it.
At DuPont, we believe in embracing diverse talent.
Workers were pushed to label themselves by race and gender.
My pronouns are she and hers.
And companies also claimed
diversity and inclusion isn't just good for society, it's good for business.
We're so sick of the words diversity, equity, and inclusion because they don't mean what they pretend to mean.
Robbie Starbuck fights DEI programs simply by telling his social media followers what companies are doing.
Yeah. Patriot Act, reverse mortgage, timeshare, things like sound nice. They sound nice. I don't want to pay a mortgage. Ooh, I'd like to be paid a mortgage. You could pay me a mortgage. Patriot Act. Oh, let's be patriotic. Or let's not be.
Harley-Davidson, they support boys competing against your daughters in sports.
Unlike President Trump, who used an executive order to end federal DEI programs, Starbuck ends them by using the power of speech.
It's time to expose John Deere.
When he posted that John Deere encouraged preferred pronouns and held woke diversity trainings, Deere dropped its policies within a week. So have other companies. Toyota, Target, Walmart, why did they listen to you?
And we go to them like any other investigative journalist and we say, hey, we have a story we're working on.
Then, if they don't change, he goes public.
It is time to expose Toyota. They have gone totally woke. It is insane.
Toyota sponsored pride parades and divided workers into identity-based groups.
They separate employees into these groups based on what race they are or what type of sex they like to have.
1 week after he posted that, Toyota stopped sponsoring LGBTQ events and opened employee groups to all workers.
No more pride events, no more pride parades.
Toyota says that it will refocus its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. That comes after a campaign from activist Robbie Starbuck.
Coors Beer and Jack Daniels changed without you posting a thing.
Yeah.
Starbucks says all he had to do was start looking into these companies, and they dropped DEI policies.
Last week, we reached out to the CEO and president of Molson Coors.
Coors was mandating DEI trainings and donating to pride events. No more.
This page used to exist, and it no longer does. Now that page looks like this. Isn't it beautiful?
I like diversity. Inclusion is wonderful.
They sound warm and fuzzy. You know, it's why at the beginning it got a lot of buy-in from people. It's like, I want to be accepting of people around me. I want to include everybody. I don't want to be mean.
Yeah.
What it actually turned out.
Yeah, coexist. Coexist, right? Coexist with the people who agree with every single thing that I agree with, or else they can go to hell. That's what coexist means. Reverse mortgage, Patriot Act.
out to be in reality looked a lot more like crazy trainings, overtly racist hiring practices.
Super overtly racist hiring practices. And advancement protocols. You might get hired, but you're not going to get a chance to move up on the ladder. Has that happened to you? There's a question of the day. Have you been passed over or removed from a job under circumstances that you believe to be DEI related?
Diametrically opposed to the very warm, fuzzy sounding words they try to sell.
Harley-Davidson is the latest company to drop diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
Harley-Davidson ignored Starbucks for a month, so he kept posting videos like these, calling Harley's CEO and its board members woke.
They held out the longest of any company. I think they should have listened. If you look at their numbers now, they're not doing so hot.
Now, I don't care if private companies tell employees, stand on your heads. Workers can quit, and customers have choices. But over the past few years at big companies, DEI mandates were so prevalent, you couldn't avoid them. I'm a Chase Bank customer. It's run by a smart guy, Jamie Dimon. Last year, he said, DEI is good for business, morally right, and we're quite good at it. Then on TV, he was told,
Robbie Starbuck is out there going after companies. You now have a couple of activists going after your company.
Really? Not that I'm aware.
Are you aware of this?
Bring them on.
And so I went on CNBC and I brought it on and I was like, hey.
Guess who sponsored a Dylan Mulvaney event for children? JP Morgan.
They went and trained employees with the genderbread person.
This is it here.
It looks like something out of kindergarten from hell. And the most infantile, ridiculous thing ever. This is not something serious people or adults would use in a training.
It discusses gender identity being different from biological sex and sexual orientation.
And if you disagree with it,
and that has no business at work.
You're some sort of maniac or you're a bigot and you don't belong in the workplace. They had internship programs that were only for Black people or for Hispanics.
But it seems appropriate. It's reparations.
We don't have reparations in this country. Last time I checked.
When Starbucks exposed JP Morgan's policies, Dimon said, I saw how we were spending money in some of this stupid and it really pissed me off.
Yep. So it's a quick turnaround, right?
Very quick. In my many years of reporting, I don't think I've ever seen changes this fast. And DEI activists are angry about it.
You're saying that you want to erase our existence?
Erase our existence.
Wow.
What existed before DEI? Did Black people not exist before that? Like that, it's just nonsensical.
This will specifically harm women.
Your policies are specifically harming men.
African Americans and Latinos.
What she's actually
and white people
saying is that minorities are not going to be able to get jobs if the sole thing you're looking at is merit, which the way I was raised.
That's racist.
Is you call that racism?
Yes.
I think she's being racist.
I think.
And sexist. She would prefer tilting the scale so that more women like her could get jobs at the behest of other people, men, trying to get those jobs. That's sexist. The things they screech about are the things that they are so often.
They're just saying that, look, we have a history of disadvantage. We were slaves in this country.
None of them were.
None of them were.
I'm Cuban. I could say, you know, my family went through this, they went through that. I didn't go through it, you know. I'm not going to claim their disadvantage as my own disadvantage.
Use your wallet as a weapon, use your voice, and speak up.
We're not going to fall for the same stupid stuff anymore. We're going to judge people based on merit and on who they are, how they do their business every day, not on what they look like and their immutable characteristics, like their skin color.
There you go.
Our country.
One of the better people out there, Robbie Starbuck, doing good stuff as well. Miss Muckraker here. Remember when we were told not to do any of the genetic DNA testing because their information or samples could be sold and used for nefarious purposes? 23andMe has filed for bankruptcy and announces the resignation of CEO Ann Wojcicki. 15 million DNA samples are now just available to the highest bidder. And that's great. More than 15 million people provided the company with their DNA samples, a virtually unprecedented repository of human genetic information that could be sold in bankruptcy proceedings. Nate Johnson, according to Shadow of Ezra, Nate Johnson, a U.S. Treasury Department policy advisor, exposed that 23andMe has been secretly sharing customer data with nearly every country. He claims a hidden clause in their contract allows them to hand over user information to shareholders, all of whom are pharmaceutical companies owned by Russia and China. California's Attorney General has urged customers to delete their data as 23andMe filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. How wild is that? Hey, there's Ken. Ken was once a slave. Did you know that? A slave to the rhythm. Yeah, these overlays are neat, but they're kind of like in wonky spots. I don't know if I can change where they go. And I do have this one, but then it gets rid of my name. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, Miss Muckraker continues here. We did touch on this yesterday. I'll cover it again because it's very important. North Carolina Supreme Court gave the family a green light to sue their school district after their son was allegedly vaccinated with a COVID mRNA injection without parental consent. We covered that yesterday. And why did the kid consent? If they said, we're going to do this and he didn't want to, why didn't he just say no? Then again, that's sort of victim blaming, isn't it? You wouldn't ask a victim of any other intrusion inside of their body. Well, why didn't you resist? Well, if you never consented, that was resistance, right? So we will see how this case pans out. I don't know why we need a Supreme Court to defend your bodily autonomy. What about abortion? That's a state's issue, state to state. States handle that because it's not in our Constitution. It's not in our Bill of Rights. It's something the 10th Amendment says anything not specifically delegated to the federal government will be handled on a state-by-state level. That's all. That's all it is. Also, they report that President Trump calls for implementing proof of citizenship, voter ID, single-day voting, and paper ballots as mandatory voting requirements. Yeah. Luxury car manufacturer Rolls-Royce is reportedly preparing to increase manufacturing production in the United States to avoid tariffs imposed by President Trump. Oh, yeah, they're going to sue Ken. A boy named Sue? I think it was the day that Johnny Cash died. I performed that at Easy Street Cafe in Bowling Green, Ohio for open mic night. Well, my daddy left home when I was 3, and he didn't leave much to Ma and me, just this old guitar and an empty bottle of booze. Now, I don't blame him because he run and hid, but the meanest thing that he ever did was before he left, he went and he named me Sue. What a damn good song. President Trump also announces that Hyundai will be building a new $5.8 billion steel plant in Louisiana. Tariffs at work. $6 billion steel plant for Hyundai. Bringing jobs, bringing people with money. Those gold visas. Hey, wealthy people, get your ass over here and let's do some stuff. Start some business. Pay some taxes. We've been flooding America with poor people. 30 million illegal alien invaders dumped into our country by Obama, Biden. America has poor people, plenty of poor people. And with lousy economic policy, rampant inflation, and overspending in government, that dollar keeps buying less and less at the store. So, bring some people with means over and see what happens. Also, they're reporting President Trump has deployed more than 10,000 U.S. military troops to support southern border security efforts since taking office. That's where our military is supposed to be, protecting our country, helping rebuild the infrastructure in North Carolina, in the Palisades, in Maui. Then again, a lot of people say that you weren't supposed to have a standing army. President Trump has revoked Secret Service protection from former DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. That guy should be charged criminally with treason. We will see. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Where is it at? Yes, bartenders are poor people. I've been a bartender for a while, and we pour drinks. Let me pour some drink into my mouth, by the way. We are Breitbart says. That was a good one, Kenneth. Poor people. Democrats are so lost and divided. What the hell's happening? I didn't press play anyway. Shut up. Oh, I do wonder, though, if that signals that I might be able to get back on DLive now. Let me give it one more shot to link that channel up. It did just start streaming. Fingers crossed. Nope, still glitchy problems. But I should probably close it. And I'll close Kick. Should I? Hang on. I think I'm streaming on Kick. It looked like I had a viewer. I want my channel. I am broadcasting here. That's good to see. Do you hear it? Do you see it? Do you hear it? Do you feel it? Do you believe it? Okay, we're not going to play that game. Right, we'll close that down for now. What about over here on, what is this, Kick? Where's my channel? It says offline. Why does it say offline? I'm not offline. Oh, it's on Twitch. But it's showing that it's not on Twitch. People, help. Yeah, it says that I'm streaming on Twitch. And I'm streaming on YouTube today because we're going to talk about Cain Velásquez. There we go. I don't know why it's saying that I'm offline. I'm not offline. Refresh. Still offline? Okay. I don't know. I'm trying new channels since we were banned. Anyway, Democrats are so lost and divided, according to We Are Breitbart. They don't know what they stand for anymore. They're a fringe party that's so extreme and irrelevant, not even its own members are sure what it even stands for anymore. During portions of an interview with NPR that aired on Monday's broadcast of All Things Considered, Representative Tom Suozzi, Democrat from New York, said that it's clear Republicans want to shrink government and cut taxes. But what Democrats want to do on anything other than abortion and LGBT rights is unclear. Abortion and not straight stuff, Democrats are very loud about. As far as the rest of that, what else they have? Suozzi said, I just can't resist. We just can't resist. I'm sorry. Jeez. We can't just resist. Can't just be why we're against Trump and what's wrong with Trump. And that and that the Democratic brand has been damaged. NPR correspondent Barbara Sprunt then said, he says Republicans have done a better job at marketing their ideas. No, they have better ideas. She then played a clip where Suozzi said, when you ask people, you say, well, what do the Republicans stand for? They say, well, make America great again. They want to cut the size of government. They want to give tax cuts, stuff like, and what do the Democrats stand for? And I think the people are kind of scratching their head a little bit. They believe in like choice and LGBT rights, which I believe in those things too. But I don't know that you can build a whole party around that. Sprunt then stated he nods to his own campaign where he won an issue that traditionally puts Democrats on defense, immigration. She then played a clip where Suozzi stated, I was running on the issue of the border, so the constituents come to me and they say, well, Tom, that's a Republican issue. I don't know if you should be talking. I said, no, this is what the people in my district are talking about. We can't ignore what the people are talking about. This comment, oh, come on. They know what they stand for. Globalism, communism, and corruption. Next comment, the Democrat Party hates America. Yep. Yeah, the Democrat Party is excellent at making promises to win elections. Don't forget violence, hate, and racism, the requirements in being in the anti-American party. Yeah, the Democrats are a busted brand. Sassy Liberty said this, I do not understand why a parent needed a green light to sue the school district in the first place. How dare these so-called school officials vaccinate a child without parental consent? And that's the report that I read you earlier. Is this accurate? Mississippi v. Johnson. Let's look this one up, shall we? The Mississippi v. Johnson impact. Significant impact on the relationship between judicial and executive branches of the U.S. government, particularly in reinforcing the separation of powers. Limits on judicial oversight of the executive. We are Bart. Remember the Simpsons episode where they're chanting Bart, Bart, Bart for Bart Starr? Now, I know there was something I was supposed to do. What was I supposed to do? Bart, Bart, Bart. Anyway, the Supreme Court ruled that it lacked the authority to issue an injunction against President Andrew Johnson to prevent him from enforcing the Reconstruction Acts. Established the judiciary cannot interfere with the president's discretionary duties, those involving judgment and political decision-making, unless they are purely ministerial, mandatory, and non-discretionary. It set a precedent that courts generally cannot restrain the president from carrying out laws passed by Congress, emphasizing the independence of the executive branch. It strengthened the separation of powers. By refusing to intervene, the court underscored the constitutional separation of powers, affirming that the president's execution of laws falls within the executive domain, beyond direct judicial control except in specific circumstances, reinforcing the idea that the judiciary's role is limited when it comes to challenging discretionary executive actions, leaving such disputes to political processes like impeachment rather than judicial remedies. Precedent for executive immunity, long-term legal doctrine. So, yeah, it appears as though that's a fairly accurate representation of Mississippi v. Johnson. Courts cannot enjoin the president in his exercise of official duties. Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, it's not even spelled right. It does not grant district court judges the authority to issue injunctions against the president. Because you've been seeing the lawfare all across the country. Yeah, it was a pretty brilliant idea. I've seen this for in two different ways. Maybe Elon Musk can buy Pfizer so we can watch Democrats become anti-vaxxers. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I've seen the other one where it says maybe President Trump could declare that he's, I don't know. I do declare. How do you declare it? You could just say, I feel like a woman, bum, ba-na-na-na, bum, bum, or something. And so then the Democrats would be forced to say, you can't just change your sex. You can't just change your gender. Because Trump would say, I'm officially the first woman president. And it would force the left to reject that ideology. Because they must reject everything Trump does. And it would show the absurdity of it. I think they're kind of brilliant strategies. They're kind of ridiculous, but you get it. There you go. When Democrats run out of crosses to burn, find some Teslas. Democrats, the party of hate. Speaking of Elon and the cuts, remember, here's Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Bernie Sanders spending their entire careers saying that we need to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse out of Medicaid.
Simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare. We owe it to our country.
There is an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in this government. When there is waste and fraud, you have an administration who should also be on top of that situation.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
We simply must.
That really sounds like something I've heard from Doge and Elon and Trump, but now they're against it. Bunch of weirdos. More about Bernie Sanders. There's such irony in AOC and Bernie's anti-oligarch performance art tour.
There is such an irony to Democrats talking about oligarchy because, of course, for every one billionaire that backed President Trump, Kamala Harris had 2. 9 of the 10 richest counties in America are represented by Democrats. 65% of Americans making over $500,000 a year today are Democrats. 75% of hedge fund managers who make political donations donate to Democrats, and 95% of political donations from the top 3 management consulting firms go to Democrats. Meanwhile, President Trump absolutely crushed with Americans who make under $100,000 a year. The Democrats are the party of the wealthy. And Donald Trump is representing the working class because he simply lifted the pro-worker elements of the Democrats' agenda when they abandoned the working class to cater to their rich base. This is all performance art. And what's so upsetting about it is they are being paid by the American people to serve them, and they are doing nothing of the kind. There is such...
I think that was pretty well said.
So you're...
On MSN.com, Tampa Free Press. Take a listen to what just help me understand what's going on in New Jersey. I remember this story from a little bit ago, but I'm going to talk about education, Department of Education, and the problems in education. This feels like a problem.
telling me that the teacher doesn't have to know how to read, write, or do math in order for them to teach our kids how to read, write, and do math. Did you guys see this come into effect in New Jersey?
You know what it reminds me of? I've got a script with a name in a rough outline. One of these days I'm going to sit and start writing these, along with the Obama Doctrine book. I've been cutting and pasting clips. Maybe this is the movie that will be the new Blazing Saddles. It's called Chinese English Teacher. Chinese English Teacher. It's a story of my brother who went to Bowling Green State University at the height of DEI. And now maybe it wasn't the height of DEI. Maybe that was just the past couple of years of Biden under the shadow Obama term. But they were so focused on being so progressive that they hired an English teacher that he could not understand because they couldn't speak English. English, Chinese English teacher. They don't speak the language, and they're supposed to teach you English. When Trump was it was at an event for the leader of India, and the reporter asked him a question. He goes, "I'm sorry, can you say it again?" Guy finished his question a second time and goes, "I'm sorry, I have no idea what the hell he's trying to say. I can't interpret. I know that you have an idea of, I don't know, I don't do inapu Nahasapima Petalan. Pretty great last name, Nahasapima Petalan. But when your accent is so thick you can't, like natives can't understand what you're speaking, you shouldn't be teaching English at a university at a place where we're paying you to learn English. So yeah, maybe that movie will become the Blazing Saddles anti-woke. I wonder if I can get that greenlit. Who would I? All right, there's a question of the day. If I put together the script and I'm able to sell it for Chinese English teacher, I think the title's pretty great. It'd be like a college flick. It'd be like a, I don't know, road trip or what's one with Belushi? Animal House, Chinese English teacher. Man, it could be offensive to everybody, just like Blazing Saddles. America needs some of that again, where everybody can lighten up and make fun of everybody else, I think. Oh, my various gods. Oh, by the many hands of Vishnu, I swear. I swear it isn't so. By the many hands of Vishnu. And Harry Shearer said he's no longer going to voice Apu. Didn't that happen? During the George Floyd hysteria when the Cleveland Indians changed their name unnecessarily. The Washington Redskins changed their name unnecessarily. I think Harry Shearer is no longer doing Apu Nahasapima Petalan, which would be a shame. And if you did stop, go get it back. Anyway, yes, this just reminds me. New Jersey teachers don't have to pass reading and writing to be a teacher for certification.
Where it says New Jersey teacher will no longer need to pass basic reading, writing, and math tests for certification. It says that New Jersey law that removes a requirement for teachers to pass a reading, writing, and mathematic test for certification will go into effect on January 1st. The article goes on to say that Murphy signed a similar bill into law that created an alternative pathways for teachers to sidestep the testing requirement. A powerful teachers union in the New Jersey Education Association was the driving force behind the bill, calling the testing requirement an unnecessary barrier to entering the profession. And of course, guess who's on that list to also follow? California and Arizona. It says that lowering the requirements for teacher certification by implementing fast-track options for substitute teachers to become full-time educators and eliminating exam requirement in order to make up for the shortages in the field that were worsened by the Big C. So let me get this straight. You want to eliminate testing of the bare minimum for reading, writing, and math for teachers that they don't have to pass in order for them to be certified to be teachers to teach our children how to read, write, and do math? This doesn't make any sense to me. But
yeah, but now it's reminding me about that movie. So maybe I got to get that movie into production. Here, I'm going to write it down. It's already in like the front of my brain. It's going on the list. Chinese English teacher. He could not understand this teacher. Class after class, he just quit. He stopped. He said, "This college isn't for me." How do you blame someone for that? Of course you couldn't. Did you see this story? Holy crap. Did you see this story?
Fabricated hate.
Fabricated hate.
The purpose of this press conference is to provide an update regarding the noose investigation.
Remember Bubba Wallace?
Did he say noose? Somebody must be out here race hating.
I bet it was Gavin Noose. Get it, Ken? Did I beat you to that pun? Gavin Noose.
As a result of the subsequent investigation, LaTarsha Brown was charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, a misdemeanor of the second degree.
Whoop. Hold on. I pressed the button. Why did it?
And false reports to law enforcement.
By the way, I still am not convinced that LeBron James didn't fake a hate crime in 2000. Was that 19? 20. 19 or 20? When he claimed that his house was vandalized, spray painted, graffitied. When the police showed up, there was nothing there. And they said, "Oh, we cleaned it." And go, why'd you clean a crime scene? We just didn't want to look at it. Okay. Whatever, dude. Let me see the videotape. He goes, our cameras don't work. Oh. Okay, LeBron. Who put you up to this one? Diddy? Obama? Bubba Wallace. I went into the garage and you had a noose in the garage. I mean, it had a rope with a handle so you can reach up and pull the garage door down by the handle. Oh, these race baiters are the worst. And remember Kamala Harris, we got to push anti-lynching legislation. Huh? Because why? What? They're such a party of destructive race-based race hoax division. Like we're in the 1880s right now. Do you even remember a single news story? Not a news story, a news story. I don't think so.
A misdemeanor of the third degree.
Sounds like some pretty serious charges to me. But you were the victim, LaTarsha. What'd you allegedly do? Let us see.
LaTarsha. Never heard that name before. Oh, I pressed the pound button. And, all right.
On January 10, 2025, at approximately 7:11 a.m., Allentown City employee LaTarsha Brown arrived at her office on the third floor of City Hall. At approximately 7:38 a.m., Ms. Brown notified the Allentown Police Department that she discovered what she believed to be a noose on her desk upon arriving at work. Officers assigned to the Community Outreach Unit, Crime Scene Identification Unit, and Criminal Investigations Unit responded, initiating a criminal investigation to identify the individual responsible for placing the noose on Ms. Brown's desk.
Yeah, can't have that. We got to make some arrests.
During the investigation, video surveillance.
I'm talking about the lady in the mirror.
And building access control records were reviewed to identify city employees present on the third floor of City Hall between the time Ms. Brown left for work on the afternoon of January 9, 2025, and her arrival on the morning of January 10th.
Yeah, we about to get this culprit.
Those employees were interviewed. Each was asked if they would provide a buccal swab for DNA testing if needed. Every employee agreed.
Every time. Yeah, just don't do the DNA through 23andMe.
Except for Ms. Brown.
Hold on, LaTarsha. What's going on now?
Initially cooperative, Ms. Brown later requested that the investigation be discontinued.
In the world of law enforcement, they call that a clue.
The noose was submitted to the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab for DNA testing on January 14, 2025. On January 24, 2025, a search warrant was approved by the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office for Ms. Brown's DNA, and a DNA sample was obtained that same day.
Come on, man, cut to the chase. What the results say?
On March 10, 2025, the Forensic DNA Division of the Pennsylvania State Police issued a written report indicating that Ms. Brown's DNA matched the DNA profile obtained from the swabs of both the outer surface and inner knotted portion of the noose after it was taken apart.
They found DNA on the rope?
No other person's DNA profiles found on the evidentiary items involved in this investigation.
Well, that can't be true. She had people all riled up in this nation.
Egregious act is not just an affront to one individual,
but it is an attack on the entire community.
You lying to me. If you get caught out here fibbing, you should get what the guilty person's sentence would have been. Take action.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point I was getting ready to make. Trevor Bauer was framed by some girl trying to extort him for money. He hasn't been able to pitch in Major League Baseball for 3 years. A Cy Young winner. The lady who tried to ruin his life and extort him should have to serve a sentence the same as the one that Trevor Bauer would have had to serve if he was wrongfully convicted of a fake crime. That's the only way you stop fake crimes from happening. You give them the sentence of what the people would have been convicted with. Did you see Smolier? I mean, shouldn't his crime be whatever those two Nigerian men in MAGA hats? Remember that? We're in MAGA country now. 3 a.m. in a blizzard at a subway. Uh, 3 a.m. at a subway. All right. But yeah, you should get the same penalty as what someone would have been guilty of. If they were found guilty, what the sentence would have been, that's what you should get.
Action. Fabricated hate.
So that's a big story going around, and you should be aware of it. Pretty wild stuff. Everybody hit like, hit subscribe, however you are watching. Thank you very much for joining me today. Let's go this way. Take a look at the other things in our news. All right, so let's read a bunch of takes about this Hegseth story. Newsmax reporting that Pete Hegseth has rejected the Atlantic story on war plan texts, saying that the editor peddles in garbage. Sadie says, I don't believe sensitive war plans would ever be shared via text. I think this is a bunch of crap. The dude may have been accidentally added to the chat, but I highly doubt it was anything top secret being sent via text. The Atlantic is a known Trump-hating outfit, so until verified, it's all propaganda from them. So President Trump is asked about this. And the Atlantic editor-in-chief says he was accidentally added to a private signal group discussing war plans against the Houthis.
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in the Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective. Okay, I mean that might be the best answer to give in this moment.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, that might be the only best answer you could give. Cryptid Politics says the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg should have deleted the text messages discussing war plans, or should have notified the Trump team that he was incorrectly included on the messages. Failing to do so shows his desire to publish clickbait stories over doing the right thing. I mean, journalists are trying to get scoops, right? Trying to get scoops, you know that. Mark Milley committed treason, says Chicago One Ray. Mark Milley committed treason when he told his counterpart in China that if Trump were to attack, he'd let him know ahead of time. And not one of you Democrats denounced it. So spare us the fake concern about national security over war plans that someone on your side made public. Babylon B with another funny reply. 4-dimensional chess here. Genius Trump leaks war plans to the Atlantic. where no one will ever see them. That's pretty funny. AJ here, Anomaly, he says, you know Mike Waltz, who leaked war plans to the Atlantic journalist? He's married to the sister of Jeanette Nishiwat, this horrible surgeon, this horrible Surgeon General nominee by Trump. She was pro-COVID censorship, and Waltz's wife served under Bush, Obama, and Trump.
First of all, vaccines save lives, and I am so excited, and I thank and I commend Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg for taking action, because this affects everyone. This affects our children. It affects adults. First of all,
Will Cain has a take on the Atlantic story.
On to another big story today out of The Atlantic, where their editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg has reported that he was accidentally sent sensitive information about military strikes in Yemen. The messages come from 18 national security officials. They were sent through the encryption app Signal, and there are indications that they appear to be authentic. I think there are two takeaways from this story as of what we know today. One, it is incredibly concerning that sensitive information would be sent with a journalist included in the thread. We can speculate, and there is reasonable, fair expectation that.
And by the way, how many times do you type something and then your phone auto incorrects something? There are gremlins in these systems that will auto generate something you're not typing, and it'll fill it in and enter it for you. I tried to do a spell check on my Gmail the other day. I think there was a word that I wasn't spelling right. I'm like, all right, I tried to do a check. Google AI rewrote the email for me. I'm like, God. So maybe they started typing JE and it auto-populated a name. And as they finished writing another name, it just kind of kept that one there. I don't know. But I do know that auto population and auto incorrect scenario has bitten me a few times.
That somebody like Jeffrey Goldberg was accidentally included under his initials, JG, when who was meant to be included was a trade chief, Jameson Greer. But if it was accidental, and we'll wait to see if this was accidental, it is incredibly concerning that this information would be shared over the Signal app with the journalist included. But the bigger takeaway for me is it's an insight, a transparent insight into the thought process and dialogue of our national leaders. If you look at the actual content of what was reported, if you look at how they discuss potential strikes on Houthis in Yemen, what you will see is dialogue between Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Stephen Miller, Tulsi Gabbard, and many more, in a very collaborative, open, honest, team-based attempt to come to the right decision after years of secrecy and incompetence. If you read the content of these messages, I think you'll come away proud that these are the leaders making these decisions in America.
So, yeah. I mean, it's like much ado about nothing. It's not like it's not like the raid was thwarted because of it. It's not like you sent it to Ilhan Omar and she's like, oh, my people. She speaks so weirdly. So weirdly. My people, the Houthis. So, not to say it's much ado about nothing, just because something worse didn't happen. It's a learning experience, yeah. If it happened, we got to figure out how it happened and how to make sure it doesn't happen again. I agree. Ramifications for the Signal thread? I don't know. What are we talking about? Talking about Hillary and her private servers? Remember all that stuff? Communicating on these platforms that can be hacked by people that hate you? Well, There's a conversation that can be had about that. Is Signal something we should be using? We can talk about that. But I'm open to taking various perspectives on the story. But it's what's happening and what people are, oh, see, we got Trump. Oh, we got to get rid of him. Oh, everything. The house is on fire. The house is on fire. The house is on fire. All right. So here's what we titled today's story. Here's video showing the pursuit here. Actually, it's a video. Let's go ahead and play you this clip. Cain Velásquez, former UFC fighter. How do you feel about this story?
MMA legend Cain Velásquez chasing after the man he allegedly shot. You can see the black SUV chasing that truck. Inside the truck was a man accused of molesting a family member of Velásquez.
This is exclusive video captured on a cell phone camera showing what appears to be Velásquez chasing after the vehicle, which seems to show bullet holes and dents on it. According to court documents, Velásquez rammed the vehicle with his own truck, then while driving, fired a gun aiming at this man, Harry Goulart, who was out on bail after being charged with molesting a young child at a San Martin daycare center. The documents confirm the child is a, quote, close relative of Velásquez.
The MMA legend.
I mean, so this guy allegedly abused his 4-year-old son at daycare. In 2022, Velásquez got in a high-speed 11-mile chase with the accused pedo, Harry Goulart, after finding out about the accusations. Rammed his car, pulled out the gun, and fired it. UFC fighter missed and hit Goulart's stepfather instead. Velásquez began shooting at the victims in Morgan Hill intersection as they tried to flee. He rammed their vehicle and fired more rounds at them. The DA's office requested 30 years to life, and Velásquez was sentenced to 5 years, already serving 3 of them. And Goulart Jr. is set to go to trial soon for abusing the son. He's facing felony child abuse charges and not in custody and is currently free with GPS monitoring. Why is that guy not behind bars? You don't let pedos out. The recidivism rate is through the roof. Now, what are you supposed to make about this story? There's not a jury on earth where I could imagine 12 angry men or women convicting a father defending his child. Now, you could say, well, he's not defending his child. The child is now safe. Yeah, but the child was harmed. That's different. If you catch something in the act and you use as much force as necessary to stop that crime from occurring, which may include just eliminating a person to get them away from abusing your kid. But it was a chase. It was an 11-mile chase. It was, you're not really allowed to go chasing after criminals. That was kind of what they got into with the Trayvon Martin situation. They're like, oh, well, George Zimmerman, he was chasing them. It's like, well, he was walking around the neighborhood. Doesn't he have a right to walk around the neighborhood? Well, he was told, don't follow him. Well, like, I got a super suspicious dude creeping in between our buildings, behind our buildings in the rain with a hoodie over his head, creeping in between our buildings. We've had a bunch of break-ins over here. I'm not letting him out of my sight. Now, it got escalated when, as the story goes, Trayvon jumped out of a bush, attacked him, and was on top of him, smashing his head, Zimmerman's, into the concrete in a ground and pound maneuver when he drew his firearm and shot to defend himself at that point. So you can't go chasing people down, and he did squeeze off shots to end the person who abused his kid, allegedly. But he did hit somebody that wasn't that guy. That sounds kind of reckless. Much ado about nothing. Much apoo about nothing. Yes. I think that was the title of one of those episodes. Much apoo about nothing. So Cain Velásquez had his life turned upside down by this dirtbag, allegedly. And he's been in jail for 3 years. He's got 2 more. Should he just be released, time served, get a pardon? Serve 2 more years. And then the guy that abused the kid, allegedly. If he's found guilty, he can't get less than 5 years, could he? Well, we'll keep an eye on this story as it develops. I don't know. Unusual Whales here reporting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced plans to ban pharmaceutical advertisements on television. Though it's not clear how such a ban might happen, Mr. Kennedy has called for an executive order. Any attempt would face an uphill battle. Oh, yeah. Here, let's watch this. Oh, excuse me. That sneeze came on too quick for me to find the next screen to hit the dump button. Woo! Couple of sneezes. Oh, boy. Yeah, remember why we were getting such terrible information during the coronavirus times.
Is brought to you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360.
CNN.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight.
Oh.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front.
We're going to have
brought
very
to you by
neutral
Pfizer.
reporting,
This
obviously.
week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
George Snuffleupagus.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today.
Oh, is it? I hope the news reports are favorable.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
Oh.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press data download brought to you by Pfizer.
Oh.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet.
Good idea.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Is brought to you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by.
Okay, this goes on for another minute and a half. You get the point. How are you going to get proper information when the people have bribed you, sponsored you? All right, so here's a guy. But yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled on this. Luke Radowski says banning pharmaceutical advertisements on television would destroy the mainstream media. Yeah, this is the USAID nuclear blast. This is the USAID nuclear blast, essentially. My God, they would fail to, they couldn't operate anymore. It would end them. And maybe that would be a good thing. Yeah, I remember I was in a doctor's office, and there was a big screen on, and it was nothing but commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial for Big Pharma. No actual content. It was a nonstop commercial of frolicking through the flowers and taking clawfoot tub baths at the lakeside, out on the beach. Oh, I would imagine that would be similar to what hell would be like. So this says a man caught on camera keying a Cybertruck, then denying it when confronted by a police officer. Volume.
You don't know what happened? No. Okay. Can I see some ID, please? Yeah. You as well, sir.
Busted. What is wrong with these people? Grow up. Bunch of bums.
No. Okay. I don't know what happened. You didn't see that Tesla?
No, I don't know what happened.
No. Okay. Well, we have one. Okay.
Bobby Kennedy needs to focus on Trump derangement syndrome. "23andMe says we believe in the strength of what we built and believe today's announcement will enable 23andMe to emerge a more financially stable organization. We remain open for business, and there are no changes to the way we store, manage, or protect customer data." Yeah, no changes, but do you currently allow other people to have our information? James O'Keefe reporting here that we have a U.S. Treasury policy. Let me switch it to that, I guess. U.S. Treasury policy advisor on tape telling us 23andMe has been sharing consumer data with pharmaceutical companies, including the Ministry of Defense of Russia. Seems like they've got bigger issues than financial instability. Oh, my Lord. That is not okay. You want to put a face to the stupidity of what the left is doing, attacking Tesla vehicles, just because Elon is eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in government, a government that's $36 trillion in debt, and we have to sell off everything and stop wasting every single unnecessary dollar.
Now she says she feels targeted.
Damaging a personal vehicle does not affect Elon. If anything, it's giving him more money to fix the vehicle that you damaged. It's not damaging who you're thinking it is.
Just before 6 p.m. on Thursday, Abigail Gill and her family were seated for dinner at Olive Garden. Over an hour later, they left, and what they found waiting for them was shocking.
Quite a lot of damage. He keyed this side as well, which, as you can see, this side, it even looks like it affected above the tire. This is a lot more damage.
This comes less than a week after a possible arson at a Tesla dealership in Kansas City. Gill believes her brand new Tesla was targeted because of the current political climate and perception of Tesla CEO Elon Musk.
No, it was targeted because the Democrats are putting this out there as a call to action because they're domestic terrorists. That's why this is happening.
But it felt really disappointing that this is happening in such a great country, a great state. So for this to be happening in Kansas, of all places, is super shocking.
She says her family has had discussions around if it's even safe to be driving a Tesla anymore, in part because of incidents like hers. If she could send a message to the man who keyed her car, it's this.
You have put a very big crisis on me because physically I am in a wheelchair. I just hope that he definitely gets the correct punishment. I hope he pays all of the damages. It is well over $1,000, possibly over $10,000 of damage. I hope that the Wichita police continue to find him.
Gill tells me she contacted the Wichita Police Department almost immediately and says they're still waiting for answers.
Yeah, this stuff is gotta stop. 23andMe, my college date. Ooh, Pfizer Dizer. All right. All right. This is Insurrection Barbie saying, I need people to listen to this and realize Democrats are never allowed to have power again.
Well, let me just add to that, and thank you. We just had a wonderful cabinet meeting, all aligned on certainly the effort to realign the government. But even at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we've canceled a $300,000 contract educating on food justice for queer and transgender farmers in San Francisco.
Food justice for queer farmers. What in the world? $300,000? Food justice? Food justice. Grow food. There's your justice.
A similar contract we canceled in New York, again, educating transgender and queer farmers on food justice and food equality.
What?
And queer farmers on food justice and food equality. I'm not even sure what that means, but
I'm not sure what that means.
But apparently the last administration wanted to put our taxpayer dollars towards that. We canceled a $600,000 contract out of Louisiana that was studying the menstrual cycles of transgender men, a $600,000 contract. We canceled another contract out of a university in the middle of the country that focused on getting more diversity, equity, and inclusion into our pest management industry. Again, these are nonsensical. It makes zero sense to use taxpayer.
Pest management, you eradicate the pests. It has no, man, this DEI stuff was everywhere.
Again, these are nonsensical. It makes zero sense to use taxpayer dollars to fund these. I know these are just a few examples of the hundreds and hundreds that we have found.
Yeah, Democrats don't deserve to be elected based on that. All right, clandestine reporting here. The more I read the JFK files, the more I'm convinced that 2020 was an organized regime change operation by the CIA and their subsidiaries. Oh? Well, Facebook, this is where I have to say for countervailing views, go to cisa.gov/rumor control. Because this election was the only free and fair election in the history of elections. Don't you know? Countervailing views at the bottom of the screen. The release of C-19 was economic sabotage via biological agent, just like Project Mongoose. It destroyed Trump's economy and gave the deep state a platform to launch their full-scale propaganda campaign to oust Trump in the election. The failing economy, loss of jobs, shutdowns, etc., they were all blamed on Trump, and it worked. Then the CIA, USAID, Soros-funded and orchestrated the BLM riots. Then the CIA, USAID, and Soros funded and orchestrated the BLM riots in the Summer of Love while using Antifa as brown shirts to spread violence and intimidation, similar to how the CIA did in Iran, Guatemala, and Chile during the Cold War, and how Soros did in the Eastern Europe in Ukraine. All the violence and chaos was blamed on Trump and his supporters for being racist, and it worked. And it worked. Then January 6th happened, and we later found out that it was far less violent than we were told. The CIA-controlled mainstream media blew the entire thing out of proportion, and they withheld countless hours of video showing the officers letting everyone in and walking around peacefully. Then we later found out that there were feds in the crowd and provocateurs that fueled and escalated the crowd to riot. In addition to Pelosi calling off security and refusing the National Guard, then they tried to cover the whole thing up. January 6th was an orchestrated event in order to prevent electors from challenging a stolen election. Read that one more time. By the way, go to cisa.gov/rumor control because they want you to think that 2020 was the only free and fair election of all time. It was the most free and fair, and any questioning of that was ridiculous, even though President Trump was up by hundreds of thousands of votes in every one of those 7 swing states, fraud states, where they magically all fell the exact opposite way to propel Joe Biden to become the most popular president who didn't even run an election from his basement, didn't even run a campaign from his basement, couldn't string 5 sentences together without stuttering and stammering because he has advanced stages of mental decline. And we all saw it then, and it's only worse now, but it was obvious then. So yeah, cisa.gov/rumor control, right? Are we allowed to talk about this, YouTube? Are we? January 6th was an orchestrated event in order to prevent the electors from challenging a stolen election. In addition, it gave their propaganda machine more fodder to demonize and censor Trump and his supporters under the new regime, allowing them to stifle any dissent on social media, pointing out the coup that just happened. All this was made possible by the near global control of media and social media to push their propaganda and maintain their desired narratives. What we witnessed in 2020 was the CIA regime change playbook. The same tactics they used to overthrow leaders around the globe, they used on Trump. We are under attack from the enemy within. Trump tried to warn us about this enemy many times.
I know many of them. It's just this amorphous group of people. But they're smart and they're vicious. And we have to defeat them. And when I say the enemy from within, the other side goes crazy, becomes a sound. Oh, how can he say? No, they've done very bad things to this country. They are indeed the enemy from within. But this is who we're fighting. I know many of.
Yeah. So you want to know the story that this Jessica Aber, U.S. attorney who was found dead in her home after uncovering? Well, she worked on a lot of stuff. Was she making enemies in Russia, making enemies in Israel, making enemies here and there? But the story of what she was working on is pretty wild. Have you heard this story?
Former U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of Virginia, Jessica Aber, was found dead in her home on Saturday. Just 2 weeks ago, I made a video regarding a Mossad spying operation, and I'm finding out now that she was part of the team investigating it. She posted this in November of 2023, exactly a month after October 7th. After we extradited this defendant from Israel, he pleaded guilty to recruiting and facilitating the illegal entry of Israel citizens into the United States with fraudulent tourist and visitor visas. This is what's shocking me right now is just 2 weeks ago, I made a video regarding how the Israeli Mossad entered the United States around 9/11 on the East Coast, conducting intelligence operations while pretending to be employees for mall kiosks.
Documents say they, quote, targeted and penetrated military bases, the DEA, FBI, and dozens of other government facilities, and even secret offices and unlisted private homes of law enforcement and intelligence personnel.
That sounds like acts of war.
Majority of those questioned, quote, stated they served in military intelligence, electronic surveillance intercept, and or explosive ordnance units. Another part of the investigation has resulted in the detention and arrests of dozens of Israelis at American mall kiosks, where they...
American mall kiosks. If I saw this story those years ago, I don't really remember it that well.
With selling toys called Puzzle Car and Zoomcopter. Investigators suspect...
Now, I remember those people that were constantly throwing those things up in the air.
A front. Shortly after the New York Times and Washington Post reported the Israeli detentions last month, the carts began vanishing.
This is what's crazy. If you look at the investigation she was a part of, it is from the government's website. Foreign national pleads guilty to role in immigration fraud and money laundering scheme. Shai Cohen, 39, admitted to organizing and working with others to recruit and facilitate the illegal entry of Israeli citizens into the United States under false pretenses. Guess how he did it? Upon arrival, the non-citizens were employed at various kiosks, owned and operated by Cohen and his co-conspirators in malls in Virginia and Maryland. Non-citizens who were engaged in illegal employment were primarily compensated for their work by under-the-cash table payments or the transfer of money to stored value payment cards. Cohen and his
under-the-table cash payments.
Co-conspirators also made foreign and domestic financial transactions in furtherance of and to promote their criminal scheme. This sort of scheme, using mall kiosks as a front company, is a Mossad operation straight out of their old playbook. I have no information regarding U.S. Attorney Jessica Aber's cause of death. What I do know is this investigation she uncovered is very reminiscent of an Israeli Mossad operation.
Huh. And we don't know what happened to this lady. Maybe it was a medical event, and maybe it was... people pass. Not everybody that passes is under nefarious circumstance. But, you got to look into it. What was this run? Since 01. Oh, God, this is a long post. I'm going to move on. Yep, but we called this fake Allentown, Pennsylvania employee LaTarsha Brown. Yeah, Jussie Smollett would be proud. It's the Obama doctrine. Gin up all kinds of fake race grievances to shame and guilt people into bad policy choices. Misdemeanor charges. False reports, fabricating physical evidence. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to lock people like that up. LaTarsha Brown, a few months ago, says those who ignite conflicts often disguise their intent by adopting a victim narrative to manipulate perceptions. How it went and how it's going. Wow. We said the Obama doctrine at work here, a Bubba Wallace, Jussie Smollett hoax. She must do the same time as someone if they were framed of this crime. Actually, I think I need to put that in the Obama doctrine notes. Obama doctrine. Apple V. And then let me grab this. Apple C, Apple V. What is this lady's name? Here we go. I'll copy and paste that. Because as I'm leaving my digital footprint, I might as well just copy paste these together. These could be different chapters of the book. Because the Obama doctrine is definitely to gin up fake race hoaxes. That's for doggone sure. It's a hate crime. LaTarsha Brown needs to get lots of years in jail for this. Yeah, racism is so insignificant in 2025 that people feel the need to stage it. What is it? The demand far outpaces supply. What is this one here? White House task force investigators revealed new information about the shooter who tried to end President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and unearthed new mysteries about the July 13 attack. House task force. Oh, this is an advertisement. All right, well. Anyway. Yeah, caught by her own DNA. 1913 was the start. Everything from this point in time to the current time is all a fraud. Woodrow Wilson inaugurated as the 28th president. They passed the 16th Amendment, allowing the U.S. Constitution to levy an income tax. 1913. Federal Reserve Act, creating the private banking cartel known as the Federal Reserve System. Underwood-Simmons Tariff Act lowered tariffs and established a federal income tax. Created the Department of Commerce. They say it was never ratified. Well, you know, I don't... Regardless, this is a leaked 1985 letter from IRS Commissioner exposing the 16th Amendment as a fraud. Income tax was never legal. $330 trillion stolen. You've seen this reported, but is it true? Is any of it true? Let's see what AI says about that. Where's the other... How do we... Oh, the ADL was formed in 1913. So many wonderful things in 1913. Here, let's ask Grok. Was the 16th Amendment ratified? Was the 16th Amendment verified? I meant to say, what did I say? Ratified? Yeah, and go to cisa.gov/rumor control about this. Where's it at? Full screen. Full screen's better. Income tax ratified Feb 3. Claims and debates from tax protester movements asserting that there were procedural irregularities or discrepancies in the wording. However, they've been consistently rejected by courts and legal scholars. Okay, 36 states, the required 3/4 at the time, given there were 48 states approved it. So there you go. It is considered constitutionally valid. So to get rid of it, what do you have to do? Well, there's rumors. Actually, let me ask Grok a follow-up. What is Trump doing April 2nd? Because there are rumors that something really big is happening. Speculation called Liberation Day. imposing reciprocal tariffs on goods from countries trading with the U.S. Would this increase the cost of goods? Yeah, there's no confirmed schedule. Liberation Day. But would that be tied to getting rid of the income tax? It's a conversation that people are having. And so we'll take a look. But yeah, you look around 1913, that year was just the worst year for policy ever. Woodrow Wilson committed just so much damage to the American people. Yeah, thanks, Wilson. Not. Yeah, hardcore mafia. Hey, as we're talking Rand Paul and people talking about the Department of Education, this lady sums it up very nicely. How would you, to any parents out there, have you considered taking your kids out of school or where to send them to school?
Hi, I'm Kaylee Weichbrot. I'm a mom of 2 in Fairfax County. This is my oldest, and my husband and I have a difficult decision to make this fall as he is approaching preschool age, and we are faced with the decision of whether or not we are going to put our child in public school system where Fairfax County has decided to move forward with instituting gender studies in elementary school. Yep. Despite having done a study group, a focus group in the community to see if parents even wanted this. And when parents said no, the board voted 16-0 and said we're moving forward anyways. This shows clearly that they see parents not as partners, but as an obstacle for their agenda.
There you have it. When you put a top-down approach for government to run all of the education system, they adopt an agenda and they force it on you. These kids, you got to keep that gender weirdness stuff out of the classrooms for kids. Let adults at 18 figure out what they want to do. Let them do what they want to do. Whatever. If it neither breaks my leg nor picks my pocket, what do I care? But stop messing with kids. Stop pushing this stuff on kids. I wish you'd stop pushing it in college, but whatever. If you're going to pay to go to a place that's going to force you. I paid to go to a college that forced me to take a class with all of this wonky nonsense. Keep it out of the elementary schools and the high schools. Just keep it out.
And I have a really hard time looking at him and going, here, I'm just going to give you over to people who do not want to partner with me in how you're going to be raised.
You have been giving your children over to become indoctrinated weirdos by indoctrinated weirdos. This cycle of abuse has to stop. How many times do you send a kid off to school and they come back with dyed hair, piercings, and radical ideologies? It's happening in elementary. It's happening in high schools. It's happening in middle schools, elementary schools. I'm not just going to hand my kid. This is why we need to make a monetary system where we have a strong purchase power. A family, a husband and wife, someone can go out and earn, and it's enough to pay for all their bills. That used to be the American dream, and someone would stay home with the kids and teach them, raise them right. No, I'm just going to give you my kid, and you're going to beat on them for 8 hours a day mentally until they accept whatever drivel you're giving them. No way. No way.
School and education is a huge part of a child's life. And early childhood is supposed to be filled with exploration and creativity and fun, not debating issues that are for adults to handle. These kinds of topics should be introduced sensitively and by parents who are raising their children with their values, not with an ideology passed down from the top.
That is well said. She's got a nice voice. Easy on the eyes. She's a great spokesperson for common sense education. So, Delaware. Kaneko the Great saying Simon Property Group, an S&P 500 company valued at $60 billion, announced plans to leave Delaware, citing concerns over meritless litigation and judicial interpretation without a clear statutory bias. Last year, Delaware activist Judge Kathleen McCormick allowed meritless litigation to overturn Elon Musk's compensation package, overruling Tesla's board and 80% of its shareholders. Instead, Judge McCormick ordered Tesla to pay $345 million in legal fees to attorneys who represented a plaintiff who held only 9 shares of the company. That's insane. In response, major corporations including Meta, Dropbox, TripAdvisor, Pershing Square, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and others have left Delaware or announced plans to reincorporate elsewhere. Judge McCormick has extensive ties to President Joe Biden, previously working at Young Conaway, a law firm among Biden's top donors, in receiving her judicial nomination from John Carney, one of Biden's closest allies. In a March 2018 email, Hunter Biden claimed to personally know every judge on the Delaware Chancery Court while threatening legal action against his Chinese business partners. Democrat lawfare leaves behind a trail of destruction for the state of Delaware. It's a cautionary tale. Yeah, Kathleen McCormick's legacy will be bankrupting the state of Delaware. Does this video play? I'm going to click it. I don't know if it does. It's weird. I saved it as an attachment, but it won't play. Yeah, something weird is going on with this post. I've tried to upload it multiple times. It was yesterday's show 2 days ago. AOC and Bernie leading the Democrat clown show. And this is our Patreon link. You can sign up and subscribe to help the New American Media over there. Oh, I could change the caption away from that WHO one. Put the donation links underneath if anyone is so inclined to assist. Yeah, I got to put it on my to-do list. Contact Patreon. I got to see, because all of my other uploads have been pretty straightforward and they've worked. This one's glitchy, just like my D-Live streaming attempt today. So contact Patreon re-upload video. All right. An announcement from Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Is doing such a fantastic job. I thought maybe you could say a few words.
Thank you, President. As far as we are hearing a lot about fraud, waste, and abuse, a lot of waste and abuse, but there is a tremendous amount of fraud. And Elon, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your team. You have uncovered so much fraud in our government, and we will prosecute you. We have an internal task force now working with every agency sitting here at this table. And if you've committed fraud, we're coming after you. Thank you, Elon, for that. On the violent crime level, thanks to President Trump's directive, we are seeking the death penalty again. So all of these horrible, violent criminals that you're hearing about around the country, they will face the death penalty federally within our country. And the drug dealers need to get out of here because we are coming after you. We're going to have 94 great U.S. attorneys around this country, and everyone will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. It's at your directive.
Is doing such a fantastic.
She calls him President. Maybe Mr. President, I would like better. Here's an update. Doge. Listen to these SBA loans that were given out.
Well, a clear case of fraud was with the Small Business Administration, where they were
in the clear case of fraud. We found that the Social Security, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, were giving out loans to people under 4 years old. 4 years old. And over 120, 120 years old. So we've decided to stop that. You will now need to do a identification verification. That rhymes. And now we hope that will get rid of maybe $330 million for the American people. Oh, Kenneth, I don't think you were here yet. I did a Bobby Kennedy at the beginning. I think it was okay. I got to listen to these. I know I can tweak my Elon, but I think I'm sort of close on a little bit of it. And the Bobby Kennedy it's hard to do. It is very taxing for me the way I'm doing it. I don't know how great it sounds, but I'm going to keep trying. Anyway, here we go.
Handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
Precocious baby.
The fraud, waste, and abuse in the agency, we've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted. So we're taking that on. We have a zero tolerance policy for fraud, and we continue to crack down on it and make sure people are held accountable.
It's amazing. And you have a lot of that. We found far too much of it. It's a pure fraud. We like to use the words waste and abuse because they sort of sound good, but many of these things are pure fraud. Now, there was a contract that you've heard about where Stacey Abrams got $2 billion just before we took over, and it was a...
That's a weird spot to stop the video there. But yeah, Stacey Abrams, $3 billion, throwing gold bars off the Titanic. Yep, 23andMe sharing customer data, claiming a hidden clause in their contract allows them to hand over information to shareholders, all of whom are pharmaceutical companies owned by Russia and China. So yeah. Come on, how funny is this? Elon Musk disguises the IRS building as a Tesla dealership, so Democrats will burn it down. Come on. How funny is that? Oh, the Elon's okay? I thought you said, is that Elon? Or do you mean, was that Elon in the room? I just like doing the laugh. I realize that a lot of my impressions do stuttering. I do it with when I do my Obama. Yeah, I definitely stutter with him. All right, so the Elon's a keeper. I wonder if hang on. Let me try it one more time then. Let's do a search. Let's go for, see if I can find RFK Jr. Okay, I found one. Let's see if I can do this again.
I'm very grateful to you.
Oh, I want it to be big screen, but I need to read what's here. So I guess it's the best I can get. Okay, here, let's get rid of the chat overlay for a sec. Let's try it. Yep, side by side works perfect. Well, not perfect, but close. But then when I do the overlay, I wish I could just take the overlay and condense it a little bit. Just at 2 inches so I could move it to the side. Anyway, we'll try it without it. RFK Jr. says Elon Musk and Doge are now inside the Department of HHS, exposing and eliminating massive fraud. We've identified extraordinary waste in the right department and HHS. The expenditures and the budget of HHS during the Biden administration went up by 38%. The employees went up by 17%, and healthcare went down. We have 40 comms departments, 40 procurement departments. We have 40 IT departments and 40 procurement HR. None of them talking to each other. We are, with Elon's help, eliminating the redundancies. We are streamlining our department. Oh my God, that's so hard to do. We are, with Elon's help, eliminating the redundancies. We are streamlining our department. It's not the worst. That's the first time I've heard it. It doesn't hurt my throat. It hurts my sternum, my abdomen, my core. It's really tough to stay in that spot. Oh God. Oh, it's not the word. Wow, my face got red, didn't it? Anyway, not making fun of him. I'm just, whatever. Just doing what I'm doing. All right, if it's not bad, that's not good. What number do you give my Elon? What number do you give my Bobby Kennedy? 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Oh boy. Yeah, I've been trying to do non-political sets, but I keep writing political jokes. I got to figure out the right way. There's different rooms to do different comedy on different nights. So I'm still trying to figure out what's going to work best. Kathy Hochul here. She confirms that New York State will not be cooperating with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, calling all counties that do renegade. It's almost like Democrats want to keep losing, says Charlie Kirk. And just to hit reset and figure out what we're doing as a country, this is what's going on in the Trump administration.
We are under your direction. We're reprivatizing the economy. We're bringing down government spending. We're bringing down excess employment in the government sector. On the other side, we're going to re-leverage the banking system. We're going to have all the new manufacturing jobs, so everyone who's laid off from the government will have an opportunity to go into the private sector, and that is going to lead to disinflation. Inflation is under control. We're going to get the affordability crisis fixed. So lower
disinflation or deflation? What a meeting this has got to be. Rubio, Trump, Bondi, Bessent, RFK. Is that McMahon? Vance?
Energy, deregulation, more private sector.
This reminds me of my HOA meetings.
Jobs that will naturally get interest rates down. Interest rates down. Mortgage rates are down almost every week since January 20th. The energy costs are down about 15%. Crude oil's down about 15%. And as we keep that going, interest rates are going to keep declining. It'll be good for mortgages. It'll be good for credit card debt. It'll be great for auto loans. We are under.
Hey, doesn't that all sound good? Trump's approval ratings are through the roof, by the way. Here's Brett Favre talking about what to do in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is going to be super important.
Hi, I'm Brett Favre. You must get out and vote April 1st for Judge Brad Schimel. The future of Wisconsin is at stake here. This is as important as the November election, and that was for the soul of America. This is for the soul of Wisconsin. Your vote for Brad Schimel will keep Wisconsin and America winning. And you know, I know a little bit of something about winning. When folks like you vote, America and Wisconsin wins.
And there you go. So if you know anybody in Wisconsin, reach out, get them active, make sure they're registered. You don't want to lose Wisconsin. Now, Pelosi getting booed out of her own town hall. I thought I saw this before. I don't remember when this was. Before I play it, let me see if I can search and find out when that was. When was Pelosi booed out of her town hall? You know, it'd be funny for like Bobby Kennedy to be involved in like as a sex service, like a sex worker thing. Like if he was a like on OnlyFans, like talking dirty would be pretty fun. I would like to do his voice, but I'd like to do something funny with his voice, not just talking as him. You got to like actually have a couple punches. All right, here, let's watch this video. Pelosi booed out of her own town hall. Look how uncomfortable she looks. Okay. Oh, there you go. From 2017. Okay. Well, it's not new, so I'm not going to play it. Do I find it helpful? Yes. Important context. I think there should be another option just like to clarify when it was. There you go. I had a suspicion about that. And she looked too young there. She's falling apart. Yep, as of Friday, SBA Gov now requires date of birth collection. Can you believe they were giving out loans without verifying date of birth? All direct loan applicants. It pauses the direct loan process for those under 18 and those above 120 years old. Basic sanity checks like these are initial steps toward minimizing fraud in government payment programs. It's amazing what people were doing, and nobody was saying, hey, you can't do that. And I think that is the extent of what I wanted to cover on today's program. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov criticized the European Union's plans for deploying peacekeepers in Ukraine, labeling European leaders as dreamers who are politically impotent. During various public statements, Lavrov reiterated Russia's stance that the conflict with Ukraine is ideologically driven, accusing Ukraine of being a Nazi project. Well, I mean, the Azov battalion, backed by Europe to wage war against Russia. He compared the current situation to historical attempts by Napoleon and Hitler to defeat Russia, suggesting an ongoing battle against similar historical foes. Okay, what about the Signal app? Anything else here? Carolyn Levitt. All right, here's what the press secretary for the United States is saying about this story that we covered about war plans getting leaked, saying Waltz has learned a lesson and he's a good man. Zero Hedge reporting that that's what Trump said to NBC. Graham Allen is saying, hey, remember when Biden authorized Signal to be used as an official government communication? Oh, yeah, the Atlantic didn't mention that, did they? Carolyn Levitt here says, Jeffrey Goldberg is well known for his sensationalist spin. Here are facts about his latest story. Number one, no war plans were discussed. 2, no classified material was sent to the thread. 3, the White House counsel's office has provided guidance on a number of different platforms for President Trump's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. As the National Security Council stated, the White House is looking into how Goldberg's number was inadvertently added to the thread. Thanks to the strong and decisive leadership of President Trump and everyone in the group, the Houthi strikes were successful and effective. Terrorists were killed, and that's what matters most to President Trump. So there you have it. There you have it. All right. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we're streaming on Kick. We're streaming on Twitch. Allegedly going to link up with DLive. Maybe TikTok. I don't know. Should I be on TikTok? I don't know. But to everybody out there watching, thank you so much. Once again, a reminder to you, do a search on these following sites for The New American Media. Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. On The New American Media. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_media_. And we ask that you sub to our podcast under the Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify and Apple. Please go on Rumble and YouTube and check out our documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. Like it and share it, and please leave a comment on it. If you'd like to support The New American Media, we're on patreon.com/The New American Media, all scrolling at the bottom of the screen as I'm talking about these things at the end. Patreon at The New American Media, Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. And there you go. For countervailing views, go to CDC and WHO websites, including CISA.gov/rumor control for all things election related. There you have it, folks. I'm going to sign off for now. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody.